to the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abassi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And today I wanted to talk about resentments and forgiveness. It's a popular topic whenever it comes up in one of my meetings. It's a meeting where everybody is participating, everybody wants to share. And the past couple days, my meetings and every conversation I have has been centered around resentments and forgiveness. So I wanted to talk about it. I had a really incredible experience today. And at the risk of the person that I had this experience with knowing that I'm talking about them, I think it's okay because it was a positive experience and I wanted to share about it. I wanted to share about the experience from my perspective and and I'll just get into it and explain, and hopefully it'll all come out the way that I intended to. So, what I've been seen lately, and I'm trying to be very observant about the messages that I hear, in my meetings and from other people. And this morning, the daily reflection that I talk a lot about in on Saturdays was talking about resentments, and it said that resentments are like act as a dam and they block the natural flow of love and connection and trust. And if we leave these resentments to just breathe on their own, they really fuel isolation and make forgiveness feel like it's impossible, really. So I have over the past year really become pretty aware of the fact that forgiveness is a decision. And forgiveness is freaking hard, but it's a process. It reminds me a lot of grieving. It does, because grieving has these different stages that are well known. We go through anger, we go through, I don't know, denial, and it all leads to acceptance. And I feel like that is the same as forgiveness. It starts with acknowledging, looking at it, right? For so long, I ignored what was happening. Not only what was happening around me, but what was happening inside of me. And I wouldn't look at my mistakes, and I wouldn't look at other people's mistakes either. Um, and I would like to say that that changed when I got sober, but it didn't. And I can give you an example of that. And this is what I talked about today with an individual that I met up with. Um, I wasn't giving anyone a chance, including myself. And that is not fair. Okay. So I'm going to try to walk through this logically. It might be challenging for me, but giving forgiveness a sort of structure that that is similar to grieving, and it might have been beneficial if I sat down and actually looked at what that looks like. Maybe I can do it before my next podcast episode if I have time. Um, but giving forgiveness a structure in the same way is, I think, the way to get there, the way to get to that point of acceptance. That's what forgiveness is for me. As I was talking about it today with my with another person, um, I was talking about how it's I was choosing to forgive somebody in my life or not. I can either forgive or I cannot forgive. Um, but either way, I needed to accept the truth. Um, and I feel like forgiveness is accepting the truth, and not forgiving is not accepting. Um, I feel like living happy, joyous, and free, as I learned in my program, requires acceptance of the truth. If I don't forgive somebody, I feel like I'm not going to be happy, joyous, and free. And maybe that's naive of me to say, but when I look at somebody else's wrongdoing that clearly was somebody else's wrongdoing. And I'm talking about two different situations right now. So I probably should go down the path of one of those relationships, but I haven't done that yet. When I look at somebody else's wrongdoing and it's clear that I was not involved at all, um, it is it's a decision for me to say, do I want them to continue to be a part of my life or do I not? And if I'm able to calmly be at that fork in the road and follow some sort of framework for steering the ship, during this turbulent time when I'm upset and my emotions are heightened and I need to acknowledge the truth, I need to reflect on the truth, I need to figure out if I'm going to maintain this relationship or not. Um, it's so much easier to follow some sort of framework to do that. And for me, the 12 steps gave me that framework. My sobriety 12 steps gave me that framework. It and it's not just steps 4 and 5 and 8 and 9. It's it's also step one, realizing that I don't have control. That if I don't do something about this situation, um, where I'm holding on to a resentment, if I don't do something about it, my life will become unmanageable again because what's happening between my ears is spiraling out of control, and it's spiraling quickly out of control. So, so needing to travel through the steps, that framework is what helps me approach a resentment. Steps 2 and 3, like, I don't have to, I'm not alone. It's not me against the world. It's not me against this person who hurt me. Um, it is turning towards this higher power that I'm building a relationship with, and recognizing that my concept of God is also a God that watches over everybody else, including the people that I have resentments towards. Those people in my heart are not ever abandoned by my concept of God. So this is kind of, I'm just talking about my perspective on all of it, really. Um, so the 12 steps as they go through are a framework to help me walk through it. Um, so after after I'm walking through and practicing some of these steps, um, I get to that point where I need to make that decision. Um, is this misstep done by another person, is it forgivable or not? And in my world, in my understanding of mm, God, sorry. Oh, the puppies have something to say about that. Quiet down. Hopefully that's all they're going to do. Um, that everything is forgivable. And my sister said that to me just, I don't know, last week. Um, Everything is forgivable. And I loved hearing that because it comforted me, because it encouraged my way of thinking, it encouraged my faith and the way that I want to approach my life and I want to approach people in it. So this is what happened today. Okay. And I never say names, which I fear that sometimes makes things more confusing, but I think it's fair to not say anybody's name without their permission. But um, so when I was when I would, let's see, how do I want to say this? I had an interaction with another woman in my life, and this was years ago. And this relationship with this other woman felt very strong. It felt very much like we confided in each other, that we had deep conversations, that we understood each other. That's what it felt like. And as I interacted with this person, I was surprised to know that the other person didn't feel the same way. Um, it was strange from where I sat. It was strange that this person would talk to me, would confide in me, and then would be unpleasant behind my back, and then eventually be unpleasant to me. Um, it was confusing to me and it made me mad, honestly, so, and that's what we are here. We're honest. It made me angry that somebody um, would be so friendly with me so that I let my guard down. And I work at not having a guard up, but this was early in my sobriety, so I still had a guard up. And I wasn't terribly comfortable telling people that I was sober yet. And I told this person that I was sober. Um, and it was just the whole situation was really confusing to me because I had never run across somebody that I was friends with and then was not pleasant to me in return, I guess. And I have run across many, many people in my life who have not liked me. And typically, when somebody doesn't like me, it's either because either because, let's see if I can gently explain my experience. They don't like me because I was moving up at work faster than they thought I should, or I took their job. Like we applied at the same time to a job, and I got the job, or they did not agree with my behavior. And granted, I was drinking back then, but usually if somebody didn't like me, it was clear that they didn't like me. There was never this, like, I'm nice to you to your face, but I really don't like you. So it was just confusing to me that I was um, dealing with this at this time. So I had the opportunity to meet with this person. And it's been many years since we've interacted. And I was, I didn't really know what to think, honestly. I wouldn't say that I was nervous about it. I think I was still confused. Maybe that's what it was. I was still confused. But I was hopeful. Okay. So after this experience with this person, um, I still remained hopeful that the relationship could be mended. And I thought that that was really interesting that I went into it this way. Um, because back when I was drinking, I would not have allowed that relationship to go any further. I would have been nasty back, honestly. I would have behaved much differently. And when this person reached out to me, I felt hopeful. Um, I did have a small sense of dread. I did, but I was hopeful, and that feeling of hope overrode the dread. So today was the day that I got to go to brunch with this individual. And since I can't drive, she picked me up and we went to a local coffee bar and we sat down, and it was like we never it was like no time had gone by in in respect to the way that we are able to be um be what I'm missing the word, talk about deep stuff. I can't think of the the word for that. Um we sat down and we just started sharing about our lives and what has happened since then. Like I said, like no time had passed except for the resentment was gone. Um in the beginning, the resentment was there. It was there. I felt it when I got in the car. Boris, I'm talking. Hey, Boris. Boris. Yoo-hoo. Yoo-hoo. I would turn the camera, but I have it on blur. Anyway, he won't look at me either. I don't know what he's looking at. It's when a dog looks into space and you're like, what are you looking at? Like it's a ghost. That's what he's doing right now. So I felt the I don't know if it was resentment or discomfort or my guard. Yeah, I felt the guard up. And that's an uncomfortable feeling because I don't usually have my guard up. I surround myself by people that I don't need to put my guard up. And I have the luxury of doing that because I don't work anymore. Um, so when I got in the car, I felt that guard up, but I did it anyway. And that's what I talk about in the program, in my program. In this program, in this podcast, I talk about doing things anyway. And so that's what I was doing. I was going to do it no matter what, even if that feeling of dread heightened or that discomfort heightened. Like no matter, I know what they're barking at. It's thundering. Autumn, be quiet. You're disturbing the podcast. Come here. Come here. Thank you. Um, so yeah, sorry. Autumn, you made me lose my train of thought. Autumn. Yeah, I was gonna do it anyway. So this morning when I found that the meeting was about resentments, I was like, that only happens in sobriety. For me, it only happens in sobriety, where when I show up, there are all these signs about what I need to do, what I need to think about, and how I'm going to do it. So this morning, the first thing, Autumn, you're really making this difficult. Stop barking. I know, I hear it too. Um, so the first thing that I wrote down this morning was pray ahead of time. Invite guidance before doing a tough conversation like that. So that's what I did in that moment. I also heard this morning use the God box. And if it's not the physical God box, it's the somebody said virtual one, and I'm like, I don't think you can call it virtual if it's not digital. Is virtual digital? Maybe not. Virtual is just no, because virtual is like made up, right? I mean, virtual is like um still real, but you're remote accessing it. That's what I think of virtual, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, this imaginary, I don't think virtual is the right word. I think it's imaginary. So whether it's an imaginary God box, you guys love me, an imaginary God box or a real God box, like put that person's name in it. Like drop it in there and let it go. I have used my God box for years and I do use the imaginary God box now, but it works just the same. I do miss the sound of the box closing. I talk about that all the time. It's kind of like you're done. You've gotten rid of that thing, whatever it is. You've put it into God's hands now. So the God box and then acting as if was one of the best tips that I got today. Practicing loving behavior even when the feeling isn't natural, and the heart will follow the habit. Okay. And that was the best advice I heard this morning is is practice loving behavior even when the feeling isn't natural yet, and the heart will follow the habit. That is exactly what happened today. I got in the car and I felt that guard up. I felt the uneasiness. I felt the uncertainty of what was going to happen. I didn't know what was going to happen. Maybe it was a ploy to get me somewhere and just freaking ream me out for no reason. I don't know. But as soon as I felt that feeling, I remembered practice loving behavior, even if the feeling isn't natural. So I just did it anyway. It's the same as doing it anyway, but it's something I'm doing on the inside anyway. And long story long, everything was great. Everything was great. And it's because I allowed someone else the same grace that was given to me when I needed to make amends. And I think everybody in the world deserves that. They do. They deserve grace. What kind of person am I to not give somebody the opportunity to let go of their own pain, you know? Um, Once you know a pain, I don't know if I'm going to say this right, but I was saying this with somebody today too. Once you know a painful truth, you can't unknow it, right? But what you can do is take an action to counteract it or to smooth it out, to work it out. We can't unknow painful truths. And I'll tell you, if I just sit on it, if I don't do anything about it, it's going to stay there in the same shape that it always was. So for 6 years since I haven't talked to this woman, that painful truth sat there and it was the same shape. And I can't say on my side that it grew, but it was there. It always stayed there. And I shared that with her today, that it was always there. Why did my relationship with her not work? I didn't understand it. I wanted to resolve on my side what I may have done wrong. And when I was talking to her today, I gave an example of a relationship that I had early on in sobriety where I did almost the same thing that she did, almost the same thing, where I was not accepting somebody for who they were. And I was kind of, I wasn't mean, but I was not, I created friction that was not necessary between me and another person. And it was me. It wasn't the other person's problem. It was me. And that person approached me one day and said, I feel like there's friction between us and I think we need to talk about it. And because of that, she taught me one of the biggest lessons about myself that I've ever learned. And I am she, I have thanked her for it, but if I could, I'd thank her for it over and over and over again because it was such a big lesson that I learned about how I treat other people, that when I'm feeling a certain way, it is it is obvious to other people. Like the friction is felt. It's so Autumn, I love you, but you're driving me crazy. That friction that I'm causing can be felt by the other person and by all the other people in attendance, I just can't stress enough how much practicing being a better communicator has changed my life. It has freed me from my own freaking self prison that I have constructed around myself for so long. And I'll start welding the bars back up again if I'm not careful. So I really am incredibly grateful that I have been introduced to the steps of my sobriety program, and they give me this framework for being able to, I guess, see a couple layers deeper into a relationship and also in see another person from the eyes of the vulnerable me, looking at somebody else through a lens of vulnerability rather than a lens of protection helps my relationship so much. Um, I I'm really grateful that this person reached out to me and wanted to talk to me because it wasn't about, I mean, I appreciated the apology. I did. I appreciated it so much. Like that was not necessary. We could have lived our lives out and never interacted again, and we would be, you know, the same people. But the fact that this person held on to pain that was associated with my existence, our interaction together was really powerful to me. It it tells me that, and I've talked about it before, how much we impact each other as people. Like even the small things that happen impact us greatly in negative ways and in positive ways. Her and I talked about community, and we talked about how it's it's not necessary to go through life on your own, and how community is provides it's like a superpower. When I join my community, it's like I'm putting on my cape, and I'm able to do anything um, because I'm not alone. So forgiveness for me was not a question today. It wasn't about, am I going to go? Am I going to forgive her? I already forgave her um, when she reached out to me. Uh, she said like she wanted to meet up with me because she wanted to apologize and thank me. And I said, well, you don't need to. You already did. And I meant it from the heart. Like, um, it wasn't about not forgiving because, like my sister said, everything is forgivable. But going out with her and exposing myself to the same interaction that I had 6 years ago and putting that same amount of trust in the person that I did 6 years ago. And then as I watch, because we're going to stay in touch, as I watch that bloom into something that is not painful, is that is the healed relationship right there. That is the freedom from from the resentment. It's freedom from self. I've talked a lot about that lately. I'm holding back Autumn with my foot. Now she's licking the foot. Um, it's freedom from self. It's freedom from um, having to hold on to something that, sure, it wasn't changing my life, that I was holding on to this resentment. It was a resentment, mind you. And she gave me the opportunity to let it go because I never would have reached out to her and said, look, we need to talk like that other person did with me. Look, we need to talk. I'm holding on to a resentment. I wouldn't have done that. Um, and she gave me the opportunity to set that free. And by practicing the program, acting acting as if, until the patience and empathy came in naturally, practicing the loving behavior until it became natural. My heart is full today, and that was a gift that she gave to me. So even though we parted ways with her thanking me for the grace that I gave her, she gave me a gift today. And that's really what I wanted to express. So, like I said, I understand if you're listening to this episode, um, I understand that I don't typically talk about a specific interaction with somebody because I don't want to, I don't know, come across wrong. But it was a really healthy experience that the reason for my podcast is because I want other people to learn from my experiences and not have my own wonderful experiences or terrible experiences be something that only I learn from. So if I can be an example of how to walk forward when something like that happens, then it's worth talking about it. And I feel like if I know you well enough, I'm talking to you. If I know you well enough, you would agree that we do need to help other people and share our pain and share our growth so that other people don't have to figure it out on their own. So, thank you to you for providing me with that gift today. And thank you to the rest of you for listening. Good episode. I might be out of my rut. We'll see. My sister said that it was not a terrible podcast episode yesterday. So that made me laugh. She called me this morning. She's like, I don't know what you were talking about. It was a great podcast. But I feel like she has to be nice to me. And she's probably listening to this too. So hi, sissy. All right. I'll let you go. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.